Paige Bueckers stays being the number one draft pick.
You are Locked On Women's Basketball, your daily podcast on women's basketball. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Locked On Women's Basketball. I'm Kalia Butler, your sideline reporter. Alongside me is Sophia Jones, our analyst and former hooper. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5. And if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Head to FanDuel.com to get started. Sophia and I were talking before this, and we are really excited about today's episode. There's a lot of new information happening within women's basketball. Project B, which we will get to, I know sounds a little crazy, but we're going to get to that. Some breakout and impact signings within Unrivaled. But first, we have to go over these Unrivaled rosters. So drum roll, please.
I think we have a sound effect. Do we have a sound effect?
I did. I don't know if you guys could hear it, but I could hear it on my head. So we have two new teams that were added this season. We're going to go over each one. So Breeze, Hive, Laces, Lunar Owls, Mist, Phantom, Rose, and Vinyl are all the teams this season. For the Breeze, they have the addition of Paige Bueckers, who was, again, the number one overall pick in the Unrivaled draft. So she is going 2 for 2 this season already. She's going to be joined by Rekia Jackson, Dominique Malanga, Ari McDonald, Kate Martin, and Cameron Brink. That's a couple of heavy hitters on there already. When we're looking at our Hive roster, Kelsey Mitchell, Sonia Citron, Ezzy Magabor, Natisha Heidemann, Sanaya Rivers, Dominique Billings. The Lunar Owls will have Skylar Diggins, Marina Mabry, Napheesa Collier, Rachel Bannum, Rebecca Allen. They kept the Sky players together, and Aaliyah Edwards. Laces, Jackie Young, Brittany Sykes, Alyssa Thomas, Jordan Canada, Maddie Segrist, Naz Hillman. The Mist, Alicia Gray, Breanna Stewart, Alana Smith, Veronica Burton, Arike Ogunbowale, Lee Yuru. Phantom, Kelsey Plum, Satu Sabali, Aaliyah Boston, Dana Evans, Natasha Cloud, Kiki Iriafen. The Vinyl, Courtney Williams, Ryan Howard, De'Erica Hamby, Erica Wheeler, Ray Burrell, and Brittany Griner. And finally, the Rose, who won last year, will not have Angel Reese this season, but Chelsea Gray, Kalia Copper, Azira Stevens, Sug Sutton, Lexi Hull, and Shakira Austin. There was 2 new teams added this season, which we're very excited about, Breeze BC and Hive BC. Sophia, who are you most excited to see? What were your initial reactions to these teams?
I feel like the teams are definitely looking pretty balanced. I would say the Lunar Owls stand out to me between Skylar Diggins and Napheesa Collier. Great duo right there. But also you add in Marina Mabry, Rachel Bannum, Beck Allen, Aaliyah Edwards. I think you have a good balance of players that can hoop and get their own buckets, but also need to do the dirty work and defend when they have to. And I think between Skylar Diggins and Marina Mabry, no one's going to want to get too rough with the Lunar Owls either, because those two will go toe to toe against anyone, and you need that on a team as well. And I would also throw in Mist with Alicia Gray, Breanna Stewart, Alana Smith, Veronica Burton, Arike, and Lee Yuru. That's a very big team between Yuru and Alana Smith. You already have that. Then Stewie, she's very tall, but she's essentially a guard almost in my eyes. And then you have a good backcourt between Veronica, Arike, and Alicia. So that team is looking really strong to me. I think it also is another one of those that has a really good balance in players that will hoop and get their own buckets, but also do some of that dirty work.
I am looking at the Breeze. They stood out to me immediately. Obviously, you have Paige Bueckers, who was such an exciting add-on for Unrivaled and signed a 3-year deal to Unrivaled as well. So we're going to be seeing plenty of Paige buckets for the continuing summers. You already have Paige, obviously, is going to get a bucket. It's literally her name. Rekia Jackson, I'm going to talk more about her a little bit later on, but I love me some Rekia Jackson, and I think she benefited a lot from Unrivaled last season, and it showed a lot in her WNBA play, and she's one of those guard forwards, and this taught her how to be an even more powerful guard, in my opinion. But you have a Dominique Malanga and a Cameron Brink. You have 2 6'5"ers on your team, but they're mobile. Like, they're going to get up and down the court. We spoke about Dominique Malanga a couple episodes ago, and your excitement about seeing her in Unrivaled and the development that she could have in this. You have Ari McDonald and Kate Martin. Again, there's just a lot of size on this team. There's a lot of quickness. There's a lot of grit to it too, but there's a lot of youth for the Breeze. And I think that just kind of shows what's happening also in the WNBA with the expansion teams. And Unrivaled added 2 new teams. The WNBA are going to be adding 2 new teams this season. There's a lot of crossovers. Obviously, we don't know what the WNBA is going to look like next season, but that's a topic for a different day once we hear more about those CBA negotiations. But I'm really excited for this season. They kept over 90% of players from last year. So obviously they enjoyed being part of it. And we saw a lot of their development translate to the WNBA this season. But there's something about their draft that was interesting is that all 48 players were divided into 6 pods based on their position. So the 4 teams that made the playoffs last season, the Lunar Owls, Rose Laces, and Vinyl, had the ability to protect 2 players from their inaugural rosters. The remaining 2 teams that didn't make the playoffs, the Mist and Phantom, were only able to protect 1 player from the inaugural season. But there was one stipulation: teams that protected a player had to forfeit the corresponding number of picks in the first round.
A lot. There was more that went into this, I think, than people realize. So there was actually a very organized draft, essentially. And with these 2 new expansion clubs, I felt like they did a good job of divvying that up as well. Even with the new club Hive, with Kelsey Mitchell, Sonia Citron, Ezzy McBagor, Natisha Heidemann, Sanaya Rivers, and Mo Billings. That's another one where you see a lot of newcomers, but a lot of new faces can bring new energy. And I think that that'll help to keep Unrivaled fresh and keep players fresh as well, because there's also a pool of developmental players that they have that will just be on site and essentially go onto any team to relieve anyone that might be experiencing an injury. So that's an added element that I think is really useful, because unfortunately we did see a fair number of injuries in Unrivaled with that full court 3-on-3 going up and down. It's a very fast paced league, but very exciting. So I'm really liking how these rosters are looking. I think off the bat, I would honestly say, if I had to pick a winner right here, right now, based on these rosters, I will go with Mist. I also think that for Breanna Stewart to be a co-founder, Napheesa, she saw a lot of success in her first season, but Breanna Stewart and Mist didn't as much. So I could see her wanting a little bit of revenge and payback. And again, just looking at that roster, great front court, back court duos, some hoopers, and just overall very solid players.
We're excited to see this. I mean, they're playing in Miami, Skyami. They're out there having fun. They're out there playing basketball. They have a good product. They are getting all the branding in the world. It's a great opportunity for these players. So sad that we still have to wait till the new year basically to see them. They start play January 5th, but it gives us plenty of time to talk about it beforehand. But after this, we're going to talk a little bit about our players to watch. So stay tuned. Let's be real, no one starts a business for the joy of calculating tax withholdings or managing payroll spreadsheets. That's where Gusto comes in to take the stress out of payroll benefits and HR so you can focus on running your business and supporting your team. Gusto is the all in one remote friendly payroll and HR platform that makes managing your team simple, transparent, and fast. Whether you're hiring, onboarding, or paying employees, Gusto helps you do it all from one place without the hassle or hidden fees. Unlimited payroll runs for one monthly price, which means no surprise charges at the end of the month. Try Gusto today at gusto.com/lockedonnba and get 3 months free when you run your first payroll. That's right, 3 months free of free payroll at gusto.com/lockedonnba. One more time, that's gusto.com/lockedonnba. Obviously, when we're thinking of players to watch in Unrivaled, the first player that comes to mind is Paige Bueckers. Everyone was very excited. And I think if you search up Unrivaled right now, the initial headlines all say Paige Bueckers joining Unrivaled, Paige Bueckers added to a team of Unrivaled, Paige Bueckers added to the expansion of Unrivaled. Everyone is excited to see Paige, and everyone was excited to see her debut in her WNBA season with the Dallas Wings. Obviously, that was going to translate over. But I think Paige is just as excited to be a part of it as we are watching her. She gets to be around so many veterans of the WNBA and of the league that who she has obviously been playing alongside. She wants to keep developing too. I mean, we already know what Paige is capable of, but she is a player that clearly loves the game and wants to constantly get better. I think this fast format for her is going to really meet her expectations of where she's at already. She's already a very fast player. She can go get a bucket. I think when it gets to the 1v1 time, that is going to be a place where she really shines and what I'm really excited to see. But Sophia, for you, what are you most excited to see from Paige in Unrivaled this year?
Well, it's no surprise that one of her favorite NBA players is Kyrie Irving because she embodies those similar handles. And I'm excited because Paige is such a special player because she doesn't need to be ball dominant to be successful in an offensive scheme. But at the same time, you put the ball in her hands and she'll get you a bucket right away. And I think that's more so what 3-on-3 is, and she can do that. She's also a great floor general. She can play fast pace. The Wings this past season, they played really fast, so I can anticipate more of that from Paige. But yeah, I want to see her just do it all, and I think this will be really great for her as well because if you're looking at her college career, where she spent 5 years at UConn, and then immediately went to the WNBA. This time of year is the first time she's probably getting some rest,
Mhm.
like rest in a cool minute. And I think that should be a scary sight for any other women's basketball player because she did deal with little tweaks here and there during this past W season. So I think her coming in fully healthy in itself is going to be something really exciting for Unrivaled.
You do bring up a good point with that. And honestly, Paige is just like me for real. I also love Kyrie Irving. I wrote a whole essay about him to get into Syracuse, my little diploma there. But that's besides the point. A breakout player that I really want to highlight is Rekia Jackson. I love Rekia Jackson. Besides the fact that she is just overall T, she also is a fantastic basketball player. And what I love most about her is just her versatility. She is 6'2, 6'3. She runs incredibly well. We saw her last season be able to get up and down the court. But I think what she learned most, and it's something that she had stated after Unrivaled as well, was she learned to be a better guard by playing in Unrivaled. Obviously, we've brought it up multiple times. It's very fast paced. You have to go get a bucket. It's 3v3. It's obviously different than your traditional WNBA season, college, whatever it may be. But I think she grew a lot. I think her ball handling grew a lot. I feel like her bringing up the ball grew, and she grew in a lot of different areas, but she still has the ability to be in that like guard forward position while doing so. We saw her dominate in 1v1 as well, when she was going up against Jackie Young. The score was like 11-3. No hate to Jackie Young, but obviously very impressive. So I think with the addition of having a Paige Bueckers, a Dominique Malanga, which you'll get into, on your team this season, I'm just so excited to watch this all happen.
Yeah, that Breeze team is just brimming with players that are in the springtime of their youth, which I love. But you talk about Rekia. This past season with the Sparks, there were certain moments where on a team with Kelsey Plum, Azrae Stevens, and Dearica Hamby, she was the first option for certain stretches, and she really held it down. So I definitely agree with you that she showed a lot of growth from year one to year two. She is not too far away from becoming an all-star at all. And I think with the Sparks, that style of play fits her well. So I'm excited to see her continue to grow in Unrivaled. But like you said, Dom Malanga, I think, is going to have to be my player to watch. And I think, unfortunately, potentially for Sid Colson, Dom and Rekia Jackson are on the same team, so she won't have the opportunity to dunk on Rekia because I know that was a thing going on for a little minute. But just with Dom's growth this past W season and her confidence, strength, developing, finishing around the basket, I think that we'll only see that even more. Especially, you talk about mobile bigs. Malanga is exactly that. She can run the floor. She can get the ball on the 3-point line and put it on the ground to get to the basket. She's going to be a really valuable weapon for that Breeze team. And I think it'll be a great opportunity for her to grow her game even more. Again, having this little break, I think, will help because she did get wrist surgery, I believe, because there was the whole deal with her Fenerbahce European club contract in order for her to play in Unrivaled. But I think that this time she'll be able to use it to get healthy. And then for Unrivaled, I really think we could see a different level to Dom Malanga's game that you don't see in 5-on-5. That, like I said, I am really looking forward to seeing. I give her about 5 games to see a dunk. That's gonna be my over under. I'll give her under 5 games until we can see a Damalonga dunk in Unrivaled.
She's a little shy, you know. You got to crack into her a little bit. She's shy. I feel like she's just going to ease into some gameplay. And then all of a sudden, she's going to be like, you know what? I'm actually feeling incredibly comfortable out here, dunk mid game. And truthfully, this is when, like, obviously, Unrivaled already surpassed all their expectations from last season. This season, once Dom Malanga dunks, I just know the ratings are going to shoot through the roof because she's not a household name just yet, but she absolutely will be because I've said this before and I have no problem saying it again. She is literally the female version of Victor Wembanyama, besides the obvious of being French. She is insane. Like when you talk about her getting the ball on the 3-point line and being able to put it on the floor, when you see that firsthand from a woman that is like 6'7", it's just wow. Like you're just like, oh, like this is a powerful force. And she's coming, and I'm just watching this on the sidelines. I couldn't imagine having to be there and actually trying to guard her. Unfortunately, that's experience I don't have to go through, but I love watching it from the sideline because the more that she develops, it's like Victor from year 1 to year 2, everybody's going to be sorry. That's why the Spurs were 8-0. And we don't know what the Storm are going to look like with her, especially after Unrivaled. I believe this is going to be really high development from her.
Definitely. And listen, when that first Paige alley to Dom Malanga dunk hits the timeline, y'all gonna hate me because that, oh my God, I can't even imagine. That's gonna just obliterate the timeline, I think. But I know already, I know after this draft, Paige has to have that in her mind. And I cannot wait to see that because I think it really will happen.
I think so too. And as if we don't talk about women's basketball enough, prepare for us to talk about it even more once we start seeing these things happen live. But coming up next, women's basketball creating their own version of F1.
The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you miss the start of the game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to fanduel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA.
So, former WNBA MVP, Madam President, excuse me, Nneka Ogwumike has signed a contract with Project B. She is the first player who is known to have joined the latest professional women's basketball league ahead of play that is expected to begin in Europe and Asia in November of 2026. Sophia, can you explain to us a little bit of what you know about Project B so far?
This is a embryonic league right now. I mean, they haven't even played a game yet, but it was the brainchild of a Skype co-founder and Facebook executive, so Jeff Prentice and Grady Burnett. And so they come from the tech world where people have the equity in the company so that when the company succeeds, the worker succeeds too. It also has an investor group that includes tennis stars Novak Djokovic, and Sloane Stevens, as well as Candace Parker. So it seems like this league has the backing, but like you mentioned, they want it to be a little bit similar to how the F1 and tennis circuits are, where there's a tournament in each city, and at the end of each tournament, there's going to be a champion, and that all leads up to potentially crowning the champion of the world. And this was Alana Beard saying this as well. She's Project B's chief basketball officer. But this sounds like a potentially really good deal coming in for players that want to play in the WNBA offseason overseas. They're saying that the salaries are undisclosed right now, but they will also get an equity stake in the league, which WNBA players have been trying to advocate for themselves in the WNBA's collective bargaining agreements. And it was also noted that with those undisclosed salaries, they will be paying more than Unrivaled. So, and this will be a 5-on-5 league, but it's this when the news broke that Nneka was signing to this league, initially I was like, what is Project B? I've never heard of this before. But it sounds like it's gonna be legit and potentially a really fun idea. I know we both talked about it where that F1 format going to premier cities and having a tournament. I don't hate that idea.
No, I think it's really interesting. I think it goes into spreading women's basketball, not just throughout the US, but now worldwide. Obviously, there's been EuroLeague, but this is just next level advancement of that. And when you have some of those investors like tennis, it's Saudi backed. All I hear when I hear of all these overseas stuff is just money, money, money. Like Mr. Krabs from SpongeBob, money, money, money. That's all I'm hearing from it. And that's exactly why Nneka signed to it too. She said it's not something that's usually offered to us. And by us, I mean women athletes. So for there to be an entry level of equity across the board was eye-catching. It's something that I stand for, obviously. Nneka is also 35 years old. Not to throw, I know we don't like to throw the age term around, but she's 35. When you're thinking of it, she might be towards the back end of her playing career. At this point, she wants money. Like, however long she is going to continue playing, she wants to be able to get paid. That's as simple as it is. And that's exactly what, to your point, they've been arguing about with the CBA negotiations. So if there's already a league that is now presenting themselves with the opportunity of, hey, yeah, you have equity in this, signed, literally not even batting an eye. And the fact that she is the first publicly known player, and the fact that it is Nneka, it's incredibly important, because there are some WNBA players that are signed to it, but those names have not been released just yet. But when we're thinking of these CBA negotiations, when we're looking at Unrivaled, and now we have this plan B that is coming, Project B that is coming, that is coming in 2026, it kind of raises a couple eyebrows of, is the WNBA going to be necessary anymore if players can essentially play from November till April, and it's not supposed to interfere with WNBA season, but realistically it gets a little bit into some training camp days, but you would be available to play once season is started. But if you are already making on top of what Unrivaled is making, which is a minimum of 200, like 20K, and they're promising that you are going to be making more than Unrivaled, a lot of players are going to want to make that switch over. And again, if you can't come to an agreement with the WNBA, you don't really need to anymore, because you can get paid somewhere else. And if it's going to be like F1 and you have the opportunity to be in these major cities that are in the US, that are overseas, you are reaching, you have a much wider reach, which also helps support your brand. All I'm hearing is there's a lot of benefits to this than there are negatives.
No, exactly. A lot of pros, not too many cons, other than the fact that this league hasn't really cemented itself yet. But I don't think Nneka Ogwumike publicly saying that she signed onto this league, while other top WNBA players have not publicly disclosed that. I think that that decision was intentional, because Nneka is the president of the WNBPA, the
Mhm.
Women's National Basketball Players Association, and that gives the union even more leverage, whether that's real or perceived, and it really, again, just puts pressure on the league, the WNBA, to make a decision with this current CBA, because we're currently in that period where there's a 30-day extension, but they can terminate that extension with a 48-hour notice. So this is coming at a very interesting time, but like you mentioned, the Mr. Krabs money 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 with when I'm also thinking of F1 style, tennis style, there is a lot of money backing that. When you look at potentially going to cities like Monaco or London, Paris, those types of things, that just brings more global eyes onto the game. And at a time where women's basketball already has so much momentum, we saw it at the Paris Olympics last year, where there was so much support. So women's basketball has always garnered a lot of support on that side of the world as well. And I think that some of these investors and these co-founders are just really trying to capitalize on that. And I think having someone like Alana Beard as well serving as their chief basketball officer only cements the credibility of this league. So it'll be really interesting to see if this comes into fruition. But like you said, if it's going from November to April, not really interfering with WNBA games, at least, it wouldn't give you much of a break at all, which a lot of these players already aren't getting much breaks that are competing overseas in either EuroLeague or the WNBL. But if you're getting paid more, and this sounds like it'll be very exclusive and premier potentially, it definitely puts a lot of pressure on the WNBA to make a decision, and it puts themselves on a great trajectory to have a pretty successful league.
Nneka said CBA agreements, baby, we're going worldwide. Another investor in it is also WNBA great Candace Parker. She said basketball has never been just a game. It's culture, community, and connection. But for far too long, players have carried the game without a real stake in its future, and women especially have been asked to wait for change. Project B isn't waiting. They're building the future in a global league where athletes have equity, shape the direction of the sport, and bring fans everywhere into the movement. This was a quote that she told the AP, and she hit it right on the nose. I mean, it's more than these players obviously just asking for money that they deserve, but it is a culture, it is a community, and there is connection of expanding this reach, like we mentioned, worldwide, which is so incredibly important when we're thinking of the development of women's athletics in general, not just within the basketball space, but inspiring young women across the world and across the globe to be active in sports, and also being able to have them see that on a platform right in front of them, but also knowing that is now achievable for them and that they can make money off of being a female athlete, and that can be their life. I mean, I feel like we've talked about it beforehand. It wasn't necessarily a goal of mine growing up to be in the WNBA. I loved going to WNBA games. I loved watching Candace Parker. But, all I heard was my dad tell me that, like, these players unfortunately don't get paid that much. They have to go play overseas. They also have to manage being mothers and having other jobs. And to me, I was like, well, that's cool, but like, I don't really know if that's something that I would personally want. So for them to completely flip the switch now and be like, no, you can be paid just as much as a male athlete, and this could be your livelihood. That is the beauty of all of this. And especially for the young women that are trying to get involved in this and knowing that they can make this their life and their career. That's the importance of bringing it not only here, but everywhere else.
Exactly. And I would also even say if they are serious about this tournament style, if I'm thinking about the way that tennis is, okay, you have a home base, you are there the majority of your time, then maybe you spend 1 or 2 weeks on site where you need to go for this tournament. That's appealing in itself for some of these athletes, again, that want equity in the league and are looking at building families. It just helps to create more stability. So this will definitely be an interesting league to just watch develop because one thing about me, I'm a big tennis fan, and one of my dream sporting events is going to Wimbledon. And if this Project B has some tournament event in Monaco, say, I'm there. Like that's out of the question.
Oh, for sure. And honestly, at the end of the day, to wrap this all up and tie it with a bow, I just love women. Women are great. Women are killing it. They're doing the thing. And that's why we're here to talk about it. But there is still more college basketball that is being played. So come back tomorrow to hear Sophia and I talk about it. Thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure to follow us on our socials, and we'll see ya.